Kali Yuga, defined as the machine age, which also means the Yuga of time. And what has a human being done? We have basically been conditioned in the value that we have given utmost value on productivity, that these machines must produce something. And the more you produce, the higher is your status, the more value you have. Somehow the ego now attaches its value on everything that it has and everything that it does. Now, Marion has been brought up in the Protestant times, and the Protestant ethos or value was definitely on work, that you are useless if you don't do something. And my mother was cut from the same cloth. They went to the same primary school. So definitely we were influenced, and most people in today's society, whether you come like Jaya from Czech Republic, I'm sure it's the same conditioning. Work, work, work. What is the first thing that people ask when we meet each other? What do you do? How are you is first, but it's not really asking how are you. It's just saying hello. This is, oh, maybe where do you live? So it locates you in place, and then it locates you in time. What do you do? Now, I had a nice revelation at the retreats in this last weekend. I was watching a candle at a certain point, and everyone was meditating. And I thought, look how, if we use the fire as a symbol of time, that fire is consuming the candle, just as time consumes this candle. This body is like wax, and the wick, the thing that holds that spark, is the mind and intellect. So I was seeing that the association of fire with the candle, which means the pure existing self, when it comes in association with the form, that self that is like a fire will eat the form, consume the form. From the moment this body comes into existence, it is being burnt by time. From the very, very beginning, it is being consumed by time. Now, if we only know ourselves as a candle, and we have not received the knowledge, actually, my true nature is more like fire. Now, I find it fascinating, the truth about fire, because we say fire exists when we see it. We see the flame and we say, there is fire. Because of the existence of the candle, we say the flame exists. What we can say, flame exists because of the candle. But the enlightened vision says, fire never comes into existence. It is always there. Only when it comes into association with the form, the candle, does it become seen, becomes obvious. So our attention with thinking minds is always on the obvious, always on the appearance, never on the essence, until we know to shift it to the essence, never to the unseen. Now, if we know ourselves as that unseen essence, pure consciousness, pure existence, pure bliss, Sat Chit Anand, that is the truth of who we are, you can't see it. You can't see existence. You can't see consciousness. You cannot see bliss, which means also you can't grasp it with your hands. You can't taste it with your tongue. And you can't experience it with your senses. But just because something cannot be sensed, it does not mean it is not there. So we say fire came into existence when we light the candle, but this is incorrect. The candle gave the opportunity for fire to come into the realm of the senses to be seen. But it was always there. Because as soon as you create some friction in the space, that friction is a catalyst for fire in potential form, unseen, unobvious form, to be seen. But the fire itself didn't actually begin then. It was always in existence. So existence, pure, which is what we call sat, pure existence, is the unseen form of us, of our true self. And consciousness that we would call thinking, or the conscious mind, always is in relation to form. So fire uses form. The self uses this form in order for us to experience. But we tend to say, now something began. Now something ended. Now something else began. Now something else ended. We don't see actually the truth that is, whether it's seen or unseen by the senses, is always in existence. If one identifies I am a candle, which means I'm just this body and mind, I'm just this form, just this machine, just the mechanics of me is who I am, then they always will be afraid of time. They'll always be afraid, which is to say, of death. Because time essentially is death. Which is why Kali is cutting the ignorance, the head of her enemies. She's actually cutting time. She's cutting the illusions of time and of form. So long as one believes in the world as is seen through their mind and their senses, which will be something wasn't, something appeared, and again something wasn't. Existing, not existing, existing, not existing, existing, not existing. So long as that consciousness is believed to be true, one has to be afraid. There has to be fear, because identification as this candle, the fire is going to consume it. It will. It's inevitable. Identifying I am the fire, although only seen as the animation of this form. If it is just a machine, then it is just inert. What gives it that spark? What gives it that life? What gives it the fire to move, the fire to see, the fire to eat and digest, the fire to process all those nutrients and water and solids and everything that works in that machine? If that machine is not fueled by something, it has no relevance. So the very machine is for the purpose of pure consciousness. We drive cars. We are very familiar in our day and age of the automobile, something that makes us mobile. We have attached purpose and meaning to this machine. If I get confused, which means if I don't have the knowledge, when I get in that car and I start driving the car, I will say, I am the car. And I won't be able to distinguish between me, the spark of consciousness that drives the car, and the machinery of the car. Without me, there's no car. The other day when we had the retreat, and everyone parked in the field where our sheep usually graze, during the retreat, we put them in a pen. But at the end of the day, someone was staying over, so they kept their car there. We locked the gates so then we could let the sheep out of the pen and graze. In the morning, I saw the sheep looking at this car, sniffing the car, looking around the car. Something new in their field. For them, it was not a car. Had no relevance of its purpose. So the car is only a car for the purpose of consciousness. The candle is only a candle for the purpose of fire. A human incarnation is only there for the purpose of pure consciousness. But we have become identified with the form, and then all fear, all judgment, all value that is now placed on the form has to cause upsetting in some way, ultimately fear. So when you realize essentially that time is illusory, it changes your whole perspective. That friction of the match, they create that little sandy part on the matchstick, on the form, but you need the form of the sticks. If I create friction anywhere in the space, fire is there. Now, where did the fire come from? Where did it appear from? It didn't appear from anywhere. It's always there. I don't get a match and think, Mayank, did you get the fire from the shop today and bring it here so I can light the match? Oh, forgot to go and buy the fire. You can't possess fire. You can't buy it. You can't deliver it. When you see the film, all those little clips, that's how the mind is seeing the world. This happened, then that stopped happening, and this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, which essentially is how we process time. So time has come from the mechanical mind. When you're asleep, there is no time because there's no mechanical mind. There's no consciousness of time. When you wake up, you don't know what time it is. Who's to tell you what time it is? You have to look at some device. Because that compartmentalizing mechanical mind had dissolved. It takes a great big mind to realize that how it is that the illusion of appearance and disappearance being separate things, basically seeing the world of separation. And of course, from that comes mine and yours, and good and bad, and right and wrong, and all of that comes from the division. This enlightened knowledge has to tell you that mind, the mechanical mind that thinks that something wasn't, something was, something wasn't, something was, something wasn't, like those film clips, is not ever going to arrive at any peace. How do we equate that with peace, with fearlessness, with doubtlessness, with love, with truth? But if you know the pure existence of fire never wasn't and never became an existence, it's ever present. And then through the practice of not grasping the compartmentalized identification with form, you release and more dissolve or expand to knowing yourself ever present. Now, in one meditation practice, it's not enough because it's not a logical thing. So she was just describing, not just her, every person grows up with the sense that value is equated to how much you produce and how much you do. So she was saying, because I came from that conditioning, which is the human conditioning of every person, and she said, now that I'm in a quieter period of my life, I am doing less. And she said that she can feel like she's wasting the time. Wasting the time means that you are not valuing yourself that has no time. Why can't we sit the whole day and be at peace with doing absolutely no activity? I'm not saying nothing, no activity, because we don't value ourselves. We value the form that is of work, of productivity, which is to say, of appearance. You value that which appears, but you don't value that which you cannot perceive. So, for the sake of language, let's call it pure conscious being. You are. That pure conscious being is like fire. It's not something which is in time. It doesn't come and go. Like fire, it's not coming and going. It's ever present. Your pure conscious being is ever present. Why is that not given the ultimate value? But we give value to that which appears. I did something. It means something appeared. Now, doing, as we were saying, is just the association of that pure conscious being with form. Form gives the appearance of something happened, and then that event or that activity ceased to happen. So now the attention has to be on the form. The form is doing. But the truth is that the fire or the pure conscious being is the doer. And it's not doing and not doing, doing, not doing, doing, not doing. It's ever present. How amazing it is that now in the time, in her 90s, she's still very fit and healthy and very sharp mind, that still at this time, she knows what is the value of her life now. Because you don't have to go out and toil the fields. You don't even have to do laundry if you don't want to. Don't even have to do dishes if you don't want to. She chooses to do them. But if she didn't want to do them, she wouldn't have to do them. She doesn't have to do, which means she doesn't have to be at all in the field of appearance and disappearance. But what creates the restlessness or the unease is our identification. I'm not valued unless I'm only valued as the form. But the form is of appearance and disappearance. So how can that be satisfying? It's very evolved state to recognize that divisive state of consciousness that is doing, not doing, doing, not doing, which is dividing appearance from disappearance, which is dividing form from nothing, no form, that how is this the key to unlocking our state of peace? If one wants to be at peace, and she now has every opportunity, the culmination of her sadhana since the last several decades, that now she can live in peace. So by saying, I'm wasting time, she's saying, I do not value my pure conscious being, essentially. Like a reward for her sadhana, she doesn't have to enter into time. She doesn't have to enter into any decisions unless she wishes to. She is totally and utterly free. And yet the conditioned mind that seeks value in the form, which is of that which does something, and fears not doing something. I'm great when I am producing. I am nothing, no value, if I am not producing. That is of appearance and disappearance. I made something appear. Washing is on the line. Something appeared. Now that's of value. But if I sit on my rocking chair and listen to the birds, no value. Unless she's done several things that have equated to value, then she's deserved the time to sit on the rocking chair and watch birds. This is the predicament of a human being, that we are caught up in time. What does time mean? It's not just something on a clock. Time is not the device. Time means the divisive consciousness that is of appearance and disappearance. Which means, do I exist? Do I not exist? If it's attached to the form, when my existence shows through this form, laundry or a project, then it has value. Then I exist. And when that subsides, when that passes, which always will, events pass, then I'm sitting with no value. The yogi turns that around, not amassing all kinds of, you don't need to amass 15 cars, which absolutely distract you from knowing yourself as the ultimate value, formless and free, but pure existence, not nothing. Formless doesn't mean empty space. Formless is that pure presence. Just as fire is not nothing. When you blow out the flame on the candle, you're not blowing out fire. You are blowing out the association of fire with that candle. It's so cool. But you can't blow out fire. I just need to create friction again and fire comes again. Say, oh, that's it. We've run out of fire, sorry. No fire today. Come back tomorrow. We're getting a shipment of fire from over from Canada, shipped New Zealand some fire. They're very generous. They had extra fire. We make everything a commodity. We make everything a machine. We make everything of time. We make everything of location and place. And if we start to see that that's the mechanism, nothing wrong with it. But it is not the pure conscious being, the essence of who we are. What is our desire? To know ourselves as the essence. Yes, it's liberating. That's why an enlightened being is at peace. And yet they pass the time, but they don't pass the time doing useless things. They pass the time in the upliftment of everything that they are in contact with. Nothing is for their own selfish need, because they need nothing. So every action, every discussion, every word is used for the upliftment and the liberation of human beings. And if it is not needed, then be silent. As Marion said, you're passing time. You're not wasting time. If you are conscious, then yes, do whatever. But awaken from the idea that you're doing has any ultimate value. Please, Rena.
No, just how beautiful it all came together. It's so liberating to
Right.
not be trapped by time all the time. All the time.
All the time, yes, exactly. Self is like fire. It just burns. It just burns eternally. But we call it time, or we bring it into time only through our mind that sees the destruction of form. So form was appearing, now form is disappearing. So we say, time did that. But actually, it's all pure being. It's all pure being. Meditation is basically giving utmost value to pure conscious being. Otherwise, one is attached to their thinking mind, like the candle. It's just the mechanics. The thinking mind is the mechanics. It thinks in terms of time, dates. What do I have to do? What date is this? What date did that happen? It thinks in terms of relations, something that appeared, my son. Before your son appeared in form, did you exist? Obviously. Did you become more valuable with the appearance of the form? I have a son. Now what appeared? Mother. Is mother true? If it appeared, it is not true. Is son true? No. Can you really say that someone is yours? Is this form not just a catalyst to know ourselves as that pure conscious being? These identifications, I am good, I am bad, I am right, I am wrong, I am worthy, I am not worthy. All these categories get dissolved. Or I should say, become in their right place, which means a vehicle for me, not that it consumes me. Use everything that we have, not to further our fear of disappearing and our need for appearance, but use form, which also means time, only for the recognition of yourself like the fire cannot be extinguished. Is not great or small. Fire is fire. The appearance of fire may be a bigger fire or a smaller fire, but that's due to the nature of the form. Many sticks, bigger flame. One tiny matchstick, a smaller flame. But fire itself is not big or small. It's a revolutionary way of seeing when you start to tune in to the illusory nature of the waking mind that divides everything into parts. We have the potential to open beyond compartmentalized, beyond time, division, appearance, disappearance, birth, death, me, you, to realize the eternity, ever presence, just needs two things. Don't give ultimate value to your events in your life. They are just events. They are in the field of comings and goings. Don't value yourself in that field. Swamiji would say, reduce your duality. And that opens to consciousness of oneness, of ever-presence. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Kulu, there was an expression, mind-blowing. Ultimately, your mind has to blow beyond its boundary. Let the mind get blown beyond a little box. And yet, respecting every aspect of this appearance, form, world, or realm, but knowing what it's used for. What is the purpose of it?